Suspense is killing me. Get this thing going. Mo Hornig's ready to go. And off and rolling from Holloway Jim with a tough serve to begin it for Hornig. And Purdue ready to return it with Jenna Otek. And Hannah Grant with 2 tough opportunities early. Ribeiro from Michigan. And right back out to Newton. And a long rally. Purdue's going to get you in a lot of these. And Purdue does take the first point with Cleveland and Colvin off that right side.
That's one thing that Purdue does so well. Their block and D just is lights out. If you're any team playing them right now, you have to outlast them defensively because Purdue is not going to give up on defense.
Well, that's a little taste of several points in how they should be played tonight. And that's into the cross court for Paige Jones, the top swinger at 3.5 kills a set for the Wolverines.
And that's her bread and butter shot. That really sharp cross-court shot is something that Paige Jones loves to do, and they're going to use her as a bailout all the time to try to see big swings like that.
Should be a fresh arm, too. Win against Rutgers to close out last weekend. Just 9 swings in a 3-set win for the Wolverines. Caitlin Newton carried that heavy load. She gets the swing off. Boney dug by Otek. Reigning defensive player of the year in the league. Had the first ball, and Newton put it down.
Caitlin Newton just coming up big time for this Purdue team, taking a big swing in not a perfect situation, can only really get 2 steps to that ball, but still sees the court so well, and that's one reason why she is so good. Her vision is unmatched.
Over 1,000 swings on the year. She has been durable. She has been consistent. And she's come up in big moments for Purdue. On the other side, it's Grace Cleveland involved for a second time early.
That all started with a really good dig in the back row by Mo Hornung, just taking a really smart shot. They get the touch off the block, putting it in a perfect position to run that tempo and get Cleveland that ball really fast.
Overpass chance, Cleveland's easy work up at the net.
And Grace Cleveland, another one of those pins for Purdue that is getting so many more swings this year. Newton had the majority of swings last year, but they're trying to balance it out, get Cleveland a few more balls, as she's one of the best hitters, best opposites in the country.
Both over 3 kills per set with Newton and Cleveland. Playing real nice with those two. And on the right side for Michigan, it's May Pertovsky. So Mark Rosen and his team, they've been fighting this back and forth of 1 up, 1 down. They're 8-8 in the Big Ten. They've only had 1 run this year where they've had consecutive matches where it's been not that pattern, where it's been a win streak or a losing streak. And then trying to make it 2 in a row tonight.
Yeah, Michigan's a team that they take care of the teams that they should take care of. You know, the teams that are below them in the standings, but they have a tough time with those teams that are higher. And he highlighted this match specifically of, yes, we won against Minnesota, but we need another win to kind of solidify the growth that we've seen as a team this year, because last year, so start and stop, especially for this Michigan team. So a win tonight would be so big and just validating the growth that he's seen.
That's inside the line for Grace Cleveland. Yeah, Michigan missing the NCAA tournament last year. First time in 5 years they hadn't made it.
And a big swing from the back row from Cleveland, something that Purdue loves to do, use their hitters in the back row as well. So you'll see Grace Cleveland getting a lot of swings back there, and then Caitlin Newton as well when she's back row.
There's Newton up front and turned back but out. And Purdue off and running up 7-2 set 1. For Dave Shondell, this is the best stretch of their season right now for the Boilermakers. 3 of the 6 wins have come against top 25 teams.
Yeah, and he mentioned this week that it kind of changed their perspective and expectations. You know, this is a team that normally is in the top 5 of the Big Ten, but they want to reach higher, and now they're in contention for a Big Ten title. The expectations have changed. You know, before they were hoping to host the first part of the tournament, now hoping to host those second 2.
This should be a lot of fun the final 2 weeks, getting started tonight.
Yeah, big matches coming up, big stakes for a lot of them too, so it's going to be fun. It's really a race to who's going to win, and there's a lot of teams that could do it right now, so tell us who you think is going to seal it up.
And Paige Jones has gotten a majority of the swings early, her 2nd kill for the Wolverines.
Paige Jones is a go-to attacker for this Wolverines team. They like to lean on her right now, especially even when she's in the back row, so you'll see her getting swings from there too.
There's a Jers Day behind her. That's what they're calling it in the block party. Students wearing their best jerseys. That's Jones out of the back, and a block for J.L. Johnson. Wasn't sure she was going to play tonight, laboring with an ankle, but big block there, solo style.
Ankle looks pretty good to me. A solo block. It's tough to block back row attacks. You don't normally know exactly right where to line up, so that's a really impressive block coming from the back row for JL Johnson.
It's her and Colvin that get the go. 3 really good middles for Purdue. Taylor Trammell also in that talk. And Jess Merzick introduces herself in this match.
Yeah, she knew that they were down, and she wanted to put some major heat behind that one. Haven't called her name yet so far, but she just hammers that hole if you're going to give it to her.
Merzick, 3.5 kills per set. Purdue knows all about her. She had 21 kills in the spring matchup, the first of the 2 spring matchups with the Boilermakers. There's Newton flying in out of the back, and that's just wide. A lot of back row action early on both sides of the net.
Yeah, it's something both of these teams really like to do. They have outsides and other pins that like to play all the way around. So if you can get them going in the back row as well, it just adds one more thing for the defense to worry about.
Always a question of who the second outside will be. To start the night, it's Emma Ellis.
Emma Ellis, that power hitter for the Boilers. She brings so much heat, so much consistency for this team. It's kind of, like you said, a battle for who's going to get that starting spot, especially throughout the entirety of a whole match. But Emma Ellis having a good start.
You thought early in conference maybe it was a feeling out thing, it would go away, pick one person, but it's been consistent throughout the year as Haley Bush in on that block at setter.
And Haley Bush, kind of an undersized setter for the Big Ten, stands at 5'10", but she is a big physical presence up at the net, along with the entire Boiler team.
All-American type season for Haley Bush so far, as Johnson is into the net. So with that Bush block in mind, Dave Shondell's team has not only played back row defense really well, but up front. Tough to get it to those back row players as another hitter right now.
Yeah, and he's mentioned before that your blocking improves kind of the older you get, the better blockers you become. But you look at that list, Taylor Trammell, Raven Colvin on there, just a freshman and a sophomore. So it's not even necessarily the experience that's getting them those big blocks. It's just being in the right places. You know, a testament to how good of a coaching that this Boiler team does and training his players to have good vision, be patient, wait to go up, turn those hands in. They just do the mechanics and the technicals so well every single time they go up.
Well, not just the middles, too. You had Grace Cleveland off the right side on that list over a block per set as well. So Purdue doubling up the Wolverines in set 1. Back to Merzick, and the tool shot off that block.
And that's a shot that Jess Merzick likes to go for. She loves tooling the block, but when you have someone like Grace Cleveland up there, it's a little bit tougher, but she knows that if that hand is not perfectly turned inside the court, she can use it to her advantage and try to score off of it.
Michigan coming in here thinking about their second big upset win of the season, and their first one against Minnesota. Merzick, 20 kills, 15 digs. She was huge. So you figure she has to be an important piece tonight. That ball is absolutely scorched from Caitlin Newton.
When you have that back row attack, it is so tough on that Michigan block to try to go up and pick an angle. And if you pick the wrong angle, something like that's going to happen where you're just going to get burned in a seam.
Scotty Johnson going to the right side. Pertowski down. Good effort from Cleveland coming over from the net. But Cleveland kept it alive. Newton puts it away.
And some great defensive plays over on both sides, but especially the Boilers right now, just getting stuff up that you don't normally see. Grace Cleveland running over in that off blocker position, and then a perfect dig to Haley Bush set and down with a Newton kill.
And that one sails on Paige Jones, so Purdue maintains their big advantage here in set 1. They're the first to 15.
We talk about how big that Boiler block is, but that's what happens when you see Michigan hitting the ball out. A lot of that is because the block is so big, you try to hit around it, but a lot of times you're hitting around it, you're gonna hit the ball out.
Kind of like that, but right into the block.
Pretty much exactly like that. Just a massive wall up there, especially when you have Grace Cleveland up there. Raven Colvin, I mean, just a massive wall.
Colvin early in the season was kind of on standby. They went to her in a few key spots in their big non-conference matches. But her introduction to the league as a whole was that Ohio State match that opened up conference play. It's been hard to take her out since. Caitlin Newton bangs one into the block, which returns. May Pertofsky led the charge for Michigan. And Jess Robinson out of the middle. Good looking swing for her.
Great looking swing for her, and really important to do if you're Michigan to get those middles going. We haven't seen too much from them, but if you can get them going in transition, it's especially helpful. You saw how back on the heels Purdue was, not recognizing that middle set and not being there in time.
And there's the other middle, Jackie Boney. So check mark that. Back-to-back swings for middles.
And both of these middles are so physical up at the net. So if you give either team an overpass right now, they will put it right back down.
Early in Big Ten for Scotty Johnson, the setter for Michigan, it was mostly a 3-hitter mix. Now it's a 5-hitter mix. And that's off the hands of the middle this time, Jackie Boney.
In a tricky play for the Boilers, they bring Cleveland around from the right side in front on the middle. They bring Raven Colvin back on a slide, so you have people switching positions. Also tough to ID if you're Michigan.
Jenna Otek sends Merzik retreating. Big swing from Jones, big dig for Otek. And Cleveland chipping the block down the line.
And Purdue right now is just playing lights out defense. Jenna Otek gets a ball, a really tough dig, just a perfect ball right in the middle of the court. You can run it, perfect tempo to Grace Cleveland right off that block.
Short service from Otek, big swing from Boney.
Yeah, and Jackie Boney looking really physical up at the net right now for Michigan, something they're gonna have to do to claw their way out of this, maybe get some momentum to head into that second set. But anytime you can set the middle if you're Michigan, you gotta do it.
Lemley, for Mark Rosen, Michigan's head coach early, it was obvious that Jackie Boney is going to be a big-time blocker in her career at Michigan. The attack has come on in the second half of Big Ten, too. There's Paige Jones, slipped it in past Hornung.
And a really good shot from Paige Jones. She's been hammering that cross court, but takes a little bit of speed off of it and chips it down the line, a space that they didn't necessarily prep for. That's a really good shot from the senior.
Mark Rosen said Michigan's got to be really smart. Defensively, Purdue will try to bait you, both when you're at the service line and when you're swinging. Smart shot there for Jones. And past Hornung the other way that time. So mixing it up, unpredictable right now.
And that's what makes Paige Jones so good. She can mix up her shots perfectly. She throws in some tips and roll shots. She can hammer cross court, hammer that line. She can pretty much do it all for this Michigan team.
And now one of the best servers in the Big Ten, May Pertofsky. And a whistler is well long. Service error for Pertofsky.
You're happy about that if you're Purdue. I mean, the #1 server right now in the Big Ten. Such a difficult serve to pass. A little bit of spin on it, but also there's float, so it's really tough to get behind.
Johnson going back to Jones. Otek. Second ball from Hornung. And Kendall Murray up there to take the first one from Michigan. And Paige Jones off hands again.
And Coach Mark Rosen told us earlier this week that Paige Jones actually somehow looks a little bit fresh. She takes care of her body so well. She's getting a lot of swings right now, and that's a good sign. That means they're going to go to her throughout the entire game, and she's already putting up pretty good numbers.
Yeah, peaking late physically. Paige Jones did have a couple lingering injuries early in the season. She's carried it offensively for Michigan in this first set. 5 kills already. That's off hands for J.L. Johnson working the slide.
And she is best on that slide. She can hit pretty much any angle when she's up there. So if you're a blocker going up, if you're Michigan, it's tough to line up on her. And if you're not perfectly in place, she's going to find a way to score.
The list is long of things that J.L. Johnson does for this Purdue team. But when she's in there, a little bit different feel emotionally, according to Dave Shondell. Emma Ellis bangs one. Murray on the floor to get it. Back row Newton into the block. Jackie Boney leads it for Michigan.
A really impressive block from Jackie Bonus. She had a middle coming up and a back row attack through the middle, so she knew she wasn't going to get baited. She waited just a little bit longer, and having Jess Merzick in there to help also adds a lot.
And that serves short. So Purdue back up 7. Here's one of the stars late at Minnesota, Allie Hornung. Had a 5-point service run to close out the 4th set in the win against Minnesota. It had been about an hour since she had moved around, you know, coming back out of intermission, warming up, and then served 5 lasers to close out the match against Minnesota. First win since '98. And the freshman will stay back there as that ball goes wide for Merzick.
And the entire team had just such great things to say about her after that match. I mean, she's a freshman going in, you're down against a top 10 team and just serving lasers. And that's exactly what you want off the bench. Someone to come in and just put some heat behind it, even if you're a freshman.
Jess Robinson gets her off that spot. She can work the slide too.
Yeah, and they switched around. Michigan switched around those middles a little bit earlier in the season just because Jess Robinson is a little bit better in front of the setter. But you can see behind the setter, she can also hit pretty much every angle for him.
It was an adjustment that actually came mid-match, early season match against Nebraska in the Big Ten. It's mid-match that Mark Rosen went to that, and they've trained that way since. Scotty Johnson out on the serve. So 3 of those 4 service errors from Michigan have come late. Michigan was creeping back in, getting some momentum back, some giveaways at the line. Jones out of the back, and that's an error as well, this time on the attack.
And we've seen a few of those errors go a little bit long, and that's credit to that Purdue block being up in the right spot, forcing Michigan to hit the ball out.
So I mentioned Michigan was kind of creeping back in. This match is the biggest lead for Purdue. Their first set point with Haley Bush serving. Jess Merzick swats that one past Jenna Otek.
And a big swing from Jess Merzick at a crucial time to try to get some momentum going for this Michigan team.
So set point 2, and it's Merzick that serves after the kill. And a great serve. 2 in a row for Merzick. 1 at the net, 1 at the line.
And you want your big players to come up big time in big moments. And this is big for Jess Merzick, just a sophomore, but gets a crucial kill, goes back to the service line. And when you're down this much, you just need some momentum, and she's bringing that to this team.
I know you like checking out those angles on the end zone cam. That serve dipping as Raven Colvin puts an end to set 1 for Purdue. Boilermakers winners of 6 in a row, and they were in complete control in set 1. J.L. Johnson, Caitlin Newton with big first sets to clinch it. Down 9, where they started to creep back in a little bit, but eventually it was the service errors that shut it down.
The service and the hitting errors, 7 hitting errors, 13 kills. They just have to limit those, especially against a team like Purdue, if they want a shot at them.
Haley Bush, impressive effort to open up the second set. But with Purdue scrambling, Jess Robinson puts Michigan on the board first.
And that's something that Michigan lacked a little bit, was getting those middles more involved. So really smart by the Wolverines to get them established early.
Jess Robinson, another player like Merzick, who had a huge match in their upset win against Minnesota. Win tonight would be equal or greater than that. And Colvin did get a touch on that, but spun off the tape. Thought we might see a challenge here from Mark Rosen. He's got the card in his hand.
You heard Lisa Rosen screaming, "No way." We didn't touch that one.
All right, so we'll take a look at it. Yeah, and it is. So 2-0 Michigan. And And still 2 challenges in the pocket of the Wolverine set.
Big implications, especially when you think about late in sets. If you get those challenges back, it makes a big difference later on.
2-0 start for Michigan, then Raven Colvin, dug by Grant. Nice work by the libero again for Michigan. Back row defense been strong to start. And that one past the back row for Grace Cleveland.
And I want to highlight this dig by Hannah Grant, just getting under it. So hard to do on a quick middle attack, but not enough for the Boilers as they just give Cleveland the ball and let her do her thing.
Cleveland the leader. She's been near perfect so far. 6 kills, no errors, 10 swings. Easy math, 600 hitting percentage for her.
Those are numbers that she puts up all the time. She is such an efficient attacker, just like that right now. She's hitting 279 on the season, and when you're a pin, that is really tough to do, to be that efficient, almost hitting 300, but that's why she's so good. When you give her the ball, she's gonna score a lot of the time.
Can she get a 700 tonight? Inching that way. So far in a set plus, Jenna Otek aces up Michigan.
Jenna Otek, one of those sneaky good servers. She's pretty short, so that means that she can put a lot of speed behind the ball, which keeps that float just going. It has so much movement on it if you watch the serve. Not a lot of spin.
Help from the tape that time, too. Bertowski had it rebounds. And that time got it past the block. Little touch. Bush there on coverage. And Newton with another firecracker swing.
Yeah, Newton's good for a few of those every single set, but just unloading on the ball, especially when it's a cross-court shot. You leave that ball a little bit far inside, and the blockers aren't fully there. She is going to take a big rip at it.
Seen Mo Hornung do that a couple of times tonight. Show off the setting ability. Back to Paige Jones for Scotty Johnson.
And that's a really good shot by Paige Jones. Typically, that zone doesn't necessarily score in volleyball, but she sees how far Mo Hornung is pulled off kind of toward the line. A lot of open court for Paige Jones to work with as an outside.
She sent Hornung back and forth several times with her swings tonight. Third time that it's been those two, with Hornung trying to play goalie back there. And that's from the back row. That's Jess Merzick. And Michigan has it tied again.
And both back row attacks on both sides are working so well right now. Both are kind of having difficult times defending it, putting up only one blocker, which leaves a ton of daylight on both sides.
Hannah Grant put in a good serve, giving Michigan a chance. And they score off of it with Pertovsky.
Pertovsky is one of those players. She's a little bit tougher to block just because she really loves that line, and she has such a heavy arm and is pretty crafty with it. So she's going to mix it up a lot, kind of delays her swing just a bit. You see how she was kind of hanging in the air before she swung. Difficult to block.
J.L. Johnson rips it down the middle.
Yeah, and when J.L. Johnson gets going, she's really tough to stop as well. Just works so hard to get space between herself and the setter to unload on the ball.
See the numbers for Purdue. 19-1 after winning the first set. So in a good position tonight, taking set 1 by 9. Good response by Michigan so far. They lead it on the Newton air.
Yeah, you saw Caitlin Newton kind of shaking her head after that one, like, yeah, you know what, guys, that was my bad. Just a tough shot. But hey, you got to shake it off, get right back in the game, hopefully get the next one.
All the way back, falling away from the scorer's table. Not an easy angle, but one she would have liked to put in play at least. Oh, wow. Haley Bush got that inside the antenna, then the block comes up too.
And it's tough to score if you're Purdue in that situation with this tough serve coming from May Pertovsky. There's spin on it, but there's also float. It's really tough, but Purdue ended up finding a way to get out of it early, which is what they needed.
And Katie Gerald's, come on, that was a sky hook. Get around the women's basketball team extra year.
I'm telling you, Haley Bush, she is shorter, but she is so impressive. She can go up there and just figure out ways to dump the ball, get it over. She's so athletic, and that's what I think sets her apart from some of these other setters.
Newton serves to Murray. Jackie Boney thumps one. It's kept alive by Ellis. Free chance now for the Wolverines. Back to Bodie, ready for it a second time on Purdue side. Johnson and Ellis.
And that is a big block from the Boilermakers, just putting up a wall up there. JL Johnson tracks it so well, but if you hit right into the hands of Emma Ellis, it's gonna go straight down.
+5 in blocking for Purdue early. Bump set for Grant, out to Jones. And it's down for Paige Jones.
Paige Jones has had a lot of success so far this match trying to use that block, even though it is really good blockers on the other side. She finds ways to just hit around it and score or hit off those hands.
And this is more like the load that you're used to Paige Jones having. Already more than double the swing she had in her last match. Just 9 against Rutgers in the 3-set win. Scramble for Purdue to get it back. And 4 on that side with Skimmerhorn. Point Michigan to put them up 1.
And a good block over on Michigan's side, but also if you're Purdue, with the good blockers that you have, it also increases the ability to cover. So you saw them get that really difficult cover ball, and that's just what happens when you have good blockers in your own gym. It's tough to block on them.
Haley Bush way off the net, setting that ball. Johnson covering some ground too. Bush through the middle, Jones pops it up. Not much in system on this point yet. Dale Johnson teed off, and the coverage comes from Grant. And Merzik to Otek. Ellis off the block.
A really long rally, but I love that second ball for Maddie Skimmerhorn, putting up a really solid 5-5 ball, and Emma Ellis is able to take a full approach and get a full swing on that.
One of those types of points that Purdue is very comfortable being in. See them win those types of points a lot.
And that's what you have to do if you're playing Purdue, is you have to outlast them defensively, and it's so tough when you're playing Purdue, and they just get everything up. They're getting touches off the block. So if you're playing them, your defense has to be top-notch.
Nobody digging that one from Paige Jones.
Another one of those back row attacks, you put one blocker up, you have so many angles that you're able to hit. You see how she can hit to both sides, and it's easier to find a way to score that way.
So no matter the spot tonight, she's been a threat. Paige Jones with 8 kills, double of anybody else in the Wolverines so far. Next closest is Merzik with 4. Why not go right back to her?
And she's been loving all angles from that back row. It doesn't matter if you put 2 blockers up with her this time. She finds that open angle, which is to her left, back to that zone 1 shot. Super hard to defend that one.
You said how fresh she is. Looking at so far tonight. Newton with a roll and kept up somehow. Ping, ping, ping for Michigan. And they take the point off of it.
And the defense fuels that offense. Michigan doing a great job of finding a way to keep that ball up. Just a diving save, and then you got a middle diving as well to force the other team to hit out of bounds. Love the defensive effort from the Wolverines.
It started with Brooke Humphrey, who's 8 miles from her home tonight. Grew up 8 miles south of Holloway Gym. Wanted to get away for college. Mom actually works in admissions here at Purdue, but they're wearing maize and blue tonight.
And I got to give a shout out to her high school, McCutcheon, winning their first state championship in Indiana, Class 4A. Love to see it.
You probably saw them a few times down in Bloomington, right?
You know, we never played them, but I had a few club players that I played with that were from there, and they're always been a really good team, so it's fun to see a team like that finally win their first state title.
Merzik into the cross court for Otek. Johnson back out for Merzik, and Cleveland's on an island. Didn't matter.
A solo block up there from Grace Cleveland, and that's what she does best. She can see the play so well, steps inside of it, turns those hands a little bit down to the left to seal up that cross-court shot, what Jess Merzik loves to hit.
Block it, yell about it, then watch Haley Bush go off for an ace.
And this Purdue team, when they get on momentum runs, they're really tough to stop. You see that defense just fueling everything else for them.
Back row. Bush punches it and down. Oh, maybe the kill of the year for Purdue. Diving over past Haley Bush.
And Michigan sees this open spot on the court, or so they thought, and Haley Bush just coming in with the dig kill.
And then off the hands of Emma Ellis, so Michigan ties it back up. But man, you know, you see Bush obviously on the dump get a few kills, and she went off actually for a career high against Michigan last year, but that's one of the first times I've seen her or anybody do something like that.
I mean, I just mentioned, you know, the defense fueling the offense. Sometimes the defense is the offense.
Perfectly said. Raven Colvin. Taylor Trammell, sorry, into the game. Out of the middle for Purdue.
Maybe wanting to get just a little bit more offensive from the Boilers side. You put Trammell in and she does stuff like that. Just gets up big time and puts it down.
So all three middles getting a crack tonight for the Boilermakers. Trammell, her first kill. Paige Jones back row one more time.
Now going into this match, Michigan knows that Purdue is really good at defending the middle of the court if they're running their middles there, but you run the back row attack there, and it's just a hard thing to block, especially if you're Paige Jones, and you can just hit pretty much any angle.
She's the first to 10 kills in this match on either side. More acrobatic work from Bush to keep it on her side. But Pertovsky puts it down.
And Pertovsky saw, Pertovsky saw there was a major hole in that block, and that's something you don't get a lot of the time against Purdue, is a big hole in that block. So when you see it, you got to just hammer it.
Pertovsky, big hole, got it.
Got to say it 5 times fast.
Caitlin Newton to the back, and that's out. So Michigan with a tidier second set so far, leading it by 2. But we got to watch this over and over again. Haley Bush.
So incredible, the defensive effort from this setter to put her team within 2 right now of Michigan. It's super fun, and you know, it's a rivalry. You're playing the other team, but it's always good to be back and have some family and friends there.
Grace Cleveland out of the timeout for Purdue. So with mom and family wearing the maize and blue tonight instead of the black and gold, with her working at Purdue in admissions, chose scholarship over paycheck. Like that out of Brooks' mom.
Fair point. Very fair point, yeah.
Is that how it was in Bloomington? Were they wearing purple?
Oh, my family was decked out in purple all the time. And both my parents went to IU, but every time we went back, they were like, putting the IU stuff away. We got our purple shirts on. It was go time.
So Michigan has pulled ahead a couple of times by 2, and Purdue has bounced right back every time. Michigan looks like they're going to have a little bit of daylight. And they've done it again, and now Purdue is taking the lead with Jenna Otep.
Yeah, and Michigan has responded really well here in the second set. First one, not necessarily the show that they wanted to have during that set. Didn't hit very well, had a lot of errors, but this one playing a lot more clean, a lot more efficient, and defensively really upped that as well.
Bush for Johnson in the middle. Out to Paige Jones. Otep, second time on this point. Cleveland in the middle. Grant flailed that over. Made the adjustment down the ground. And Johnson with the first ball. Grace Cleveland trying to put an end to this point. Michigan will not relent. And now Johnson puts it to the floor.
A really good rally, and that started with a ton of great ups from Michigan's side. Hannah Grant diving in to get this save, and then another save from Michigan a little bit later on, but eventually was not enough as JL Johnson puts it down and gets pumped up.
Pasca, which, if things break, could be head-to-head, winner takes the title on the 27th.
It could be a big game next Saturday for the Boilers, their first Big Ten title in a very long time. And that's something that they've wanted to do for so long. They've always been in that top 5 of the Big Ten, but really now they can kind of see the sights of, guys, we can do this. We can really win this thing.
You got to start talking about a Big Ten legend, Marianne Smith. She was the Big Ten Player of the Year when Purdue won it in 1985. And Purdue trying to take another step toward that first Big Ten title since 1985 tonight, leading by a set, leading by 2.
And they've really had a big push here late in this set. They don't want to be tied up 1-1. They don't want to extend this night. They want to get it done early.
There's that first team All-American banner for Marianne Smith in that 1985 season. And Purdue still running. They've taken 6 of the last 7 points. You know, with Nebraska coming up for Purdue, that final match of the regular season, they met in the NCAA tournament in 1985. So some parallels there with big important matches late in the season. We'll see. One's rocked past Grace Cleveland, and Michigan is back on the board with Pertovsky off the right.
And that was a big point for Michigan to get. You don't want to be down 20-16. 17-19 is a little bit more manageable for them to kind of come back and try to take the second set.
There's some great shirts in that block party tonight. Hartford Yard Goats getting some love. Dayton Dragons in there. And that ball is long. And the lead swells to 3 for Purdue on the service error for Pertovsky.
And you got to think that that Boiler block party had something to do with that missed serve. I mean, they are as close as they can possibly be per NCAA regulations. They are right in your face, right behind the server. So I'm sure they were just yelling at her during that one.
Love the rules clarification. Legal yelling from the block party.
Yelling.
Well-researched yelling from the block party. Overpass Johnson. 2 for 2 in those spots tonight. Shimmying her way back into the huddle.
A big point for JL Johnson to put back in Michigan's face. You give her an overpass and she is gonna take care of it in front of the 10-foot line.
Paige Jones trying to get Michigan back on track. And Newton right in the campfire.
That's what makes Newton so good. She can bring a lot of heat when she needs to, but she also knows when to take a little bit of speed off and place the ball perfectly in a spot where those defenders aren't. I want to hit right, do I want to hit left? But when you have one blocker up, it makes it pretty easy for that back row attacker to score because there's so much space between them.
That fan is becoming a meme fast.
It's a really scary mask.
Impressive camera work getting the eyes, though. Service ace for Purdue, Caitlin Newton.
And if you watch Caitlin Newton serve, it has almost no spin on it. She hits it with such good intensity to really drive it at those passers with very little spin.
Another one, driven right at Hannah Graham.
She's going after those passers, something that this Purdue team has improved a lot on has been their servings. They started bringing out radar guns to measure the speed at which the ball's coming, and Caitlin Newton right now is someone, she hits it about 40 miles per hour.
Got another one off that was good. On set point, Purdue trying to go up 2-0. And it's Newton out of the back row, but Boney there to apply resistance with the tape. Paige Jones tees it off. Push out to Ellis. She's been a good closer this year, and she does it again. Set point belongs to Emma Ellis, and by the same score of set 1, set 2 goes to the Boilermakers.
Michigan did a good job of coming back, but not enough to take down the Boilers. Boilers going off at the end to go up 2 sets to none. Fine.
Some of the older players, a lot of older players in the back row for Purdue have handled it well. Mo Hornung, Jenna Otek, and Maddie Skimmerhorn's been in there. And here we go in set 3. Michigan thinking reverse sweep. Purdue thinking conventional sweep, getting out of here in 3 with their 7th straight win. There's Jess Robinson. Haley Bush had the first ball, and Cleveland starts set 3 with a bang for Purdue.
And there she goes, Grace Cleveland with her 9th kill of the night on an out-of-system swing. A really good ball from Jenna Otek, putting it 5 feet off, 5 feet in, getting Cleveland the exact perfect ball that she wants.
And just saw the package on Cleveland, adding to an 8-kill start, still without an error, but there is a service error to tie it up at 1.
And it's really important if you're Purdue to have that opposite side going. You have a really dependable outside with Caitlin Newton, but if you're an opposite, they also want a lot of production from there. And with Grace Cleveland, they have so much of it.
Out to the other side, punch for Newton. And Merzick out of the back row. And that's outside the line. That's where Paige Jones has carved out a lot of points tonight. Merzick a little bit off target.
Yeah, just trying to find and clip that sideline. It looks like they might have no challenge we'll see here, maybe a little bit early for Mark Rosen. But yeah, they're going to that back row attack a lot on Michigan's side, so just to try to open things up for their outside. They're sending a lot of balls over there to Paige Jones or Jess Merzick, just kind of bailout balls, ugly out of system balls. So if you can get that back row going, it opens things up again for that outside.
We've seen that earn Jones, one-on-one blocking a couple of times tonight. And when the double has come for Purdue, it's usually led to a rejection with the 17 blocks. Purdue standing up strong at the net on defense. Cleveland rocks one. Hannah Grant up for it again. And Bush creeping up to set Cleveland. Paige Jones off the high ball. Otek down to the floor to get it. Murray second dig on this point. And Otek can't link up with Bush.
I gotta shout out my bros here. Some really impressive ups. Just a one-handed one over there from Hannah Grant. And then Jenna Otek diving into this one. So impressive defensive play on both sides of the net.
Hannah Grant used to playing well, taking a lot of balls against Purdue as Murray sends one into the net. Grant last year, one of 6 20-plus dig matches in her career, came against the Boilers to open up last year. Having another good night here at Holloway Gym. And service errors on both sides. Major part of this third set's beginning.
And as the game gets a little bit later, you start working into a groove of your serve more, which means you can probably put a little bit more speed behind it. And that's why I think we're seeing these errors. The team's trying to go after it just a little bit more.
Caitlin Newton into it. Hannah Grant's there again. Jones out of the back. Overpass chance. Johnson to Boney into the block. It's Merzick into the cross court. Bush up there fighting for it. And Merzick with the roll. Caitlin Newton says no. A long point here at 4-3 and pinpoint for Boney coming around. Nice.
Let's talk about the defense again on both sides. Hannah Grant getting about 3 digs during that entire rally, and then Caitlin Newton coming in as an off blocker with a good pickup. And then you got Jackie Boney finishing it off for the Wolverines.
We've seen Newton and Cleveland range over like that. And Jones flying down the line, can't get to it.
We haven't seen Newton do that so far, just send one to that back corner, but a really smart shot by the 5th year.
Maybe stole the idea of what Boney just did.
Yeah, she saw that back corner. She said, you know what? That's also in my arsenal. Let me get it out there. But again, she mixes it up so much. It's so smart of her to do up front. When she's banging balls, she can also take some speed off.
Back to Merzick, and Newton tested, and Merzick wins it.
Man, Merzick is one of those players, when she gets hot, she can just unload on the ball, and there's not a lot of people in the country that are going to stop it.
She also debuted in a terrific way in the spring, the sophomore now. Her first match against Purdue, 21 kills, came back the next night, had 19 kills. And an ace, Michigan finally getting past that 2-point lead that was kind of elusive for them in that second set. It's Brooke Humphrey from Lafayette.
Showing out for her hometown crowd. The serving sub coming in, such a hard position to be in, but if you're a serving sub, you got to put in something tough, and she's doing just that.
Down the line for Newton out of the back row.
And we've seen Newton from the back row take so many sharp cross-court shots, but she can also turn it down the line and be just as effective.
8 kills on the night for Newton, or 9 kills on the night for Newton, tying Cleveland for the team lead. Johnson covering space. Merzick into the cross court. Skimmerhorn had the up. That's Paige Jones. J.L. Johnson in the back. Bush taking a swipe. Murray's there again. Paige Jones with the tap. And Skimmerhorn, not quite.
During that rally, we saw both teams just unloading for their back row attacks. About 4, I think I counted, but Paige Jones, she sees that other blocker come in, that opens up that entire zone. So if you put a tip there, it's really tough even for a libero to get.
Bush to Trammell. Second time tonight. She's teed off in a ball like that.
That was something that Michigan did not want to happen. They know that if they can serve aggressively, they can get them out of system in that first ball situation, because that is exactly what happens when Taylor Trammell gets hot.
More back row, more Paige Jones. Trammell shoves it over. And Robinson turned away. Grant covering the whole court right now. And that's in. Hannah Grant, 2 great ups. Merzick with a bullseye.
And the Michigan defense fueling its offense there. Hannah Grant with a few great ups. And then Jess Merzick just finding that sideline.
Turned over, looked at you. You said, ooh.
That's a good shot.
Yeah, didn't know if that one was sneaking in there. Emma Ellis cross court. No matter the seam, Hannah Grant or somebody coming up in her area right now from Michigan. Can Grant get this one? She can. Nearly spilling into the crowd, and the push is long.
Some good effort over there on Michigan's side, though, with Hannah Grant running almost into the stands for this one, just sending it back over. Didn't result in the point, but Hannah Grant's been just working really hard tonight.
Second year as the starting libero, started her career at Michigan State. Wow, Pertowski, nice angle there in front of Bush.
And bringing a lot of heat for them. They're up and they know they gotta put the hammer down and push the pedal to the metal on this one if you want to win against Purdue.
Grace Cleveland, not quite. Out through the back, Michigan by 4.
And that was just Grace Cleveland's first error of the night. She's been so efficient all night long, kind of going for hands on that one, but barely misses that one out.
Cleveland cross court, and out again.
She's really been trying to go for those high hands, but just cannot find it. And Michigan doing a great job right now of really pushing through, up 5 right now on the number 6 team in the country.
Coach, he really likes the spot that they're in as far as making the NCAA tournament field. RPI is very good, couple of big RPI wins. He thinks win tonight, it's almost a sure thing you're in, but get 2 of these next 4, almost a guarantee that they're an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, they have Purdue tonight, obviously, and then they have Illinois next week, so that's another big test for them. I think if the season ended today before this match had started, Michigan's in. They're 35 in the RPI. They've been receiving votes in the top 25 for the last 6 weeks. I mean, this team would be in, but this Final Four is kind of determinant of where they're going to be positioned and if they can squeak out another big win. So a win tonight would be huge, and then a win against Illinois next weekend will also be big for them.
And Pertowski down the line to extend the lead for Michigan. It's a team annually that's used to being there under Mark Rosen. You know, everybody had a weird year in 2020, but the 5 years before that, they were in. Looks like they're going back again. Really amazing. I mean, that would probably make 8 Big Ten teams that will be in the field.
Yeah, and I mean, this year it's not even surprising with the talent that we brought back just on so many different fronts. You have All-American players coming back for so many teams, fifth years. You see a lot on Purdue's side with Caitlin Newton, Jenna Otek. I mean, just people that are such game changers. And when you look at Michigan's team, it's funny because the tournament is something they're not even really focusing on. And Mark Rosen said they're not even talking about it. No one's brought it up. It's just a kind of untalked about thing that, yeah, we're going to try to do it, but we're just focused on getting better every day.
Admitted they think about it. It's just not a part of the dialogue daily, which, you know, that wasn't coach speak around the actual topic. Very, very honest assessment of how it's gone for Michigan. Michigan by 4. Paige Jones trying to extend it, and Bush did it again. Skywalking up at the net.
A big point from Bush up there, gets a tight pass, but she is big enough to just take it over with some heat. This pass just a little bit too tight, jumps up just in time with an athletic move to put it down.
That's into the cross court for Jackie Boney.
This Michigan team has found a lot of success on the right side of the court, whether it's Jackie Boney on a slide, Jess Robinson on a slide, or May Pertovsky going over there. But it seems Michigan right now is having a lot of success on the right side.
Dale Johnson was calling for the slide, went back row, and Boney's there in the middle.
And there's that back row attack, tough to beat one-on-one, but Jackie Boney just in a good spot, goes up solid and reads that so well.
Oh, tape buzzer on the serve. And Caitlin Newton, no long rally there.
This is something similar to what we saw in set 2. Michigan went up a little bit, but Purdue does not quit. When you give the ball to someone like Caitlin Newton in a situation like this, she's going to find a way to put it down.
We're in Cleveland, typically the top 2 swingers. They have been tonight. 12 kills for Newton, 9 for Cleveland. And Newton into the net on the service.
And if you look at distribution for this Purdue team right now, 34 attempts for Newton, 23 for Cleveland, and then it drops off all the way to 9. And it's interesting to see they rely so heavily on these 2 players, but they also put up numbers that allows them to be successful.
Yeah, it's not hitting 0 and going for 15 to 20 kills. You mentioned the big number for Cleveland earlier. Sometimes a middle hitting number for her at the opposite. Overpass from Skimmerhorn. So second chance for Paige Jones, and Michigan is denied. J.L. Johnson.
Both teams having big solo blocks in the past few points, and J.L. Johnson reads this play so well from the backcourt, knows the angle that Paige Jones wants to hit, drops that left hand and seals it up.
Overpass 2 there. Ellis and Trammell came together. Grant picked it up. Ellis into the net. More good work from Grant to keep the point alive.
And that defense is what keeps you in plays, and when you're playing a team like Purdue that does so well defensively, you have to make plays like this, whether it's just throwing one arm out. If you can get it up, you can save the play.
Grant's got 15 digs. Her and Jenna Otek duking it out. Opposite sides of the net. Otek has 22 already. Emma Ellis with authority. Johnson over to the bench. So Bush wants Ellis. Like that first swing. Not the second one quite as much.
And it's a really smart decision by Bush. She had a perfect dig, great situation, and then sends the ball outside on that perfect pass because you think it's going to go to the middle here, but nope, sends it out, one-on-one situation. You can almost surely say that the outside's going to put it down. Just so good, and so when you have her up at the net across from the other Michigan middles, it's only going to elevate their play.
And despite not wanting to coach, she was the one that pointed out, hey, Jackie Boney is really good at hitting the line. Maybe we should set her some balls and some slides.
Yeah, she definitely plays with them, but she also adds a lot of tips, whether that's, you know, to the coaching staff or to the players specifically. So when you have someone as good as her, and it's only going to elevate the play of your team.
May Pertovsky bangs one off the block. Michigan up a touchdown.
And Michigan has realized that right side of the court is really working for them on the slide or with May Pertovsky as the opposite. So they're going to keep feeding that ball to the right side.
Scotty Johnson just a touch out. Lead trimmed to 6 for Michigan. There's Robinson over the top. Newton from the back. Grant coming over, taking the second ball. Merzik off the block. Whistle first. There's a net call up front on Purdue.
That was a really good swing by Merzik off that block. I almost thought Haley Bush was going to get to it, though, with how well she's been playing defensively.
Probably send it over and ends up with the third kill.
Because why not?
Bush off the net for Newton. Merzik sliding over. Paige Jones cross court. Big dig night continuing for Jenna Otek and Hannah Grant. And that's sent away.
A big block up there by Taylor Trammell and the outside, sealing it up, knowing that they're going to set that opposite, but not against Taylor Trammell. She's going to send it right back in your face.
Maddie Chin up there as well, getting some run in this third set for Purdue. Otek over to the scores table. Newton avoided.
Taylor Trammell and the outside, sealing it up, knowing that they're going to set that opposite, but not against Taylor Trammell. She's going to send it right back in your face.
Maddie Chin up there as well, getting some run in this third set for Purdue. Otek over to the scores table. Newton avoided her and sent it down. She had Otek in her feet, skipped over, and then scorched the ball.
And Jenna Otek with insane hustle going into the scores table, kind of grabbed her wrist after, looked a little nervous, but man, the hustle from Jenna Otek just getting the ball up to lead to a boiler point. That's big time.
That's off hands of Newton and Trammell.
May Pertovsky really coming alive here in this third set, just swinging right at the hands of the outside, but just enough to get a tool.
And Pertovsky with 9 kills, hitting .471 for Michigan. Right at Hannah Grant. Still kept it up, though. Cleveland with the whistle on Purdue. Double contact. Gives Michigan a 7-point lead again.
Now, Michigan has done such a great job of just getting really tough balls on Purdue's side, just putting the ball right on the attackers, making it tough for them to do anything.
Serve floats away as Purdue tries to claw their way back. Down 6 with Jenna Otek going to the service line. Otek there. 25 digs for her already. And that's blocked. Pertovsky up there again, involved with Boney.
And the Michigan block has done a great job this set of coming alive, tracking the hitters really well, and sealing it up almost every time.
So Kendall Murray will be the one to try to end it for the Wolverines in set 3. Of course, this fourth set. And a good serve in, Hornung. And it's saved by Bush and Grant. Another floor burn, Murray too. 2 great contacts there to keep it up. And Murray's there again. Grant with a bump set for Paige Jones. Otek hangs tough. Johnson wants Boney, and she slices it down.
And Michigan's defensive play during that one was just out of this world. Hannah Grant getting a great up. Kendall Murray throwing her body at it. and eventually getting the point on a Jackie Boney slide. That defense is fueling that offense.
And potentially fueling a fourth set, and that's where we're headed. Service ace for Jess Merzick, clinches it.
And the defensive play for Michigan during that one, just out of this world from a blocking standpoint, from a digging standpoint, offensively doing great to push a fourth set with number 6 Purdue. All that, you know, could be a little questionable, but it can still be done.
So set 4 begins with Jess Merzick serving from Michigan. And Caitlin Newton eventually gets it down past Jones.
An impressive ball by Caitlin Newton. The set was just a little bit off, but she took some speed off of it and placed it right over that blocker, which is a great shot if you're an outside hitter.
Paige Jones with authority down the line, but out.
And Purdue taking the first 2 of this one. They didn't like that third set. They wanted a rebound. You saw that bench really dancing between those 2 sets right before we started this one. This Purdue team is going to want to close it up right now.
And a good mix in with NCAA tournament talk. With them dancing, block party engaged too. Caitlin Newton cross court. Grant having a great night. And that's right in front of Haley Bush. Back row's been weapon tonight, Jess Merzick.
Yeah, there it is again, a back row attack from Jess Merzick, something that Michigan has used a lot tonight. Jess, it's a little bit off, but she takes a little bit of speed off of it and finds that open spot on the court behind those 2 blockers.
J.L. Johnson, and that's in. 3-1 Purdue. The back row thing, I want to go back to that for a second. You think that's a time of the year thing? So well scouted at this time of the year, so a little different look that we're seeing from both?
You know, both teams have implemented it throughout the year, but I don't know if we've seen it this much from both teams. It also stands out just a little more because both teams are doing it. Normally, you know, you'll see Purdue do it or Michigan on their own.
So it is ruled out. So it is point Michigan. Nothing that we saw between a couple of looks that we got at it that seemed to warrant a reversal, but 2 for 2 for Mark Rosen, getting the challenge out.
You get him back, and that's a big deal.
And then the service goes right off the tape, so Purdue gets a point right back. Great point, though, about the hosting scenario, too. And we were talking before the match about, you know, of those top 4, could there be 2 Big Ten teams that are in that top 4? Going to be tough, but certainly the venues should help.
Yeah, the venues help out a ton. You talk about those top 4 seeds. I mean, you have a Texas, you have a Louisville, shoo-ins for that top 4. You have Pitt maybe up there, and then a lot of Big Ten teams that could potentially take over that 3rd and 4th spot. And I think it all honestly depends on how the Big Ten title plays out. If you have 2 teams tied for it, how do you keep them out of the top 4 seeds? You know, I don't know. I think the committee's going to have a really tough time when selecting seeds this year.
But the gate will be good. The payback on the gate of Big Ten teams hosting will be very strong. J.L. Johnson out there getting the touch, putting Purdue up by 3. So talking about Purdue's good wins. I mean, a lot of them have gone, you know, a lot of them went 5 sets early in the season. They impressively went on the road last year. Won places that Purdue hasn't won as a program in a long time. 1998, the last time they won at Minnesota. Nobody had won at Wisconsin in the Big Ten since 2018 before they did it last weekend.
Yeah, they've had an outstanding year so far. Just one of 2 teams in the entire country to have 7 wins against top 25 teams, the other one being UCLA. So this Purdue team has just been so great from start to finish. You saw those few wins in the early non-conference schedule that really helps them down the line.
Winners of 6 in a row, trying to make it 7 tonight. Paige Jones off hands of Haley Bush.
And a good shot by Paige Jones on that outside, trying to use that shorter setter to her advantage. You saw the hands of Haley Bush go a little bit too high. If your hands are too high and not pressed over, it makes it easy to tool.
So Kendall Murray from Michigan has done some serving, some back row defense, a little bit of hitting last couple of weeks from Michigan. And that's right in front of her from Caitlin Newton.
And both sides using that block to their advantage. Caitlin Newton has done it many times tonight, using that block in the hands of that other opposite attacker to her advantage.
Purdue ran away with the opening couple of sets. Then it was Michigan running away by 9 in set 3. Purdue up 4 in set 4. And Jackie Boney wraps around again.
And that's a great shot by Jackie Boney by that one. And Coach Shondell just reaching out to catch that one. But look at this slide. She's going for that line shot easily.
Casual.
Yeah, I thought he was going to pass it at first, I think. I'm sure it would have been perfect, too.
With the folder in hand, an adventure. There's another second ball that goes through for Haley Bush.
And Haley Bush all night long has made sure that she's a big focal point of that offense, because it's something that this Michigan team kind of struggles with. But right now, she has the third highest number of attempts on her team. So she's getting really active up there in the front row.
Yeah, more than both Ellis and J.L. Johnson right now. There's Merzick. And Purdue was into the net.
You see those hands of setter Haley Bush just coming down on the net just a little bit, but if you touch any part of that top of the net, point for the other team.
Brooke Humphrey with the service. And Raven Colvin back in there. Ran into Jess Robinson. Maddie Chin also back in there. Johnson from Merzick. Looking touch, and she got it. Maddie Skimmerhorn on the court said no way for Purdue. Dave Shondell on the sideline saying no way. What does the replay say? That's what we're about to find out. Challenge for Purdue.
And some of these, you can get pretty cold.
So it is a successful challenge, 3 for 3 tonight. It was the second set that was most competitive in this one. 10 ties in that second set before Purdue rolled away. And the Boilers mostly in control in set 4, trying to close it. Good work from Jones in the back. Merzick right between Otek and Newton standing in the back.
And Merzick has such great vision, especially as a sophomore, but she sees so much space on the court. Paige Jones, an amazing up, but look how much space there is, and Jess Merzick just hits right in between those two defenders.
A little group think going on with Hannah Grant and how she's gotten down tonight. Paige Jones doing her best impersonation there. And Cleveland rips it between two.
And Cleveland coming in on a really quick slide attack, and that's what makes her so good. She's so versatile for this team. You normally see middles running this, but they have an opposite doing it, making it so hard to block, getting those holes in there.
Went a long way, too. Go out to the pin there. There's Robinson. Haley Bush scooping him. And right in front of Jones. Nearly got there. Cleveland again.
And Cleveland took just a little bit of speed, a little bit of pace off of that one and just placed it right in that 5-6 seam. A great shot if you're an opposite attacker.
11 kills for Cleveland. Go with Caitlin Newton, 16. Mo Hornung. Johnson couldn't bring it back. Raven Colvin down.
And I like Raven Colvin's decision there, going up really strong hands rather than taking a swing at it. It's pretty tight, but it's not all the way over. So if you take a big swing, a lot of times your hand will clip the net. So good decision by her to go up with just strong hands and put it down.
Paige Jones dug. Another quick decision for Raven Colvin. And Jones didn't quite stick the line.
both sides were looking at the ref on that one like, hey, was it in or out? We're not really sure, but just out from Paige Jones. It's scary. That mask is scary.
He said, ow. I'm not showing you any emotion or any part of my face. Oh, kickball from Jenna Otek. Otek, more conventional that time. Good point for Otek so far. Pays it off.
The defense from Purdue paying dividends. If you can't do it with your hands, throw a foot out and hope for the best, which is exactly what Jenna Otek did here to keep it alive and eventually get the point for the Boilermakers.
Well, we're going to get a challenge. Purdue women's soccer, big win in the NCAA tournament. No, they're very close with. So it was down. So that's a combined 4 for 4 tonight on challenges. And you're also out of your torture from Pat O'Connor, our director, showing you the mask one more time. So that brings it back within 6. Michigan with a big hole trying to stave off a 4-set loss here on the road at Holloway. Raven Colvin skying for that one.
One and done. That is exactly what you want coming out of a time like that. When you have momentum, Michigan kills it. You come back, first ball side out, give it to Raven Colvin to put down perfectly.
Otek rockets a serve, and Grant back to get it. Right in front of the block party. And a free chance for Haley Bush, but her and Cleveland off target there.
And that good rundown by Hannah Grant paid off. As you saw there, they got a chance to just send the ball over and hope for the best, and that's exactly what happened.
That could be huge if Michigan gets closer now here. Out to Newton, and Grant's up for it again. Merzick out of the back. And Otek couldn't connect with Bush.
A really good up by Hannah Grant to give the ball to Jess Merzick in the back row, and then you hit it right at Jenna Otek, but Haley Bush, the setter, is just a little bit too far back. That pass wasn't high enough for her to get under.
14th straight double-digit kill night for Jess Merzick. A very flashy run right now for the Wolverines. Dug that time though. And that's down for Cleveland. Her big night rolls on. 12 kills for her.
And Cleveland has done a great job. The Boilers looking scary right now here in this 4th set, up 15-9 at the break.
Boom. If you're Purdue or Northwestern person in Chicago, probably headed out to Wrigley tomorrow. Catch Emily out there. BTN digital team. Caitlin Newton out of the timeout. Into the cross court and out. So Michigan had a 3-0 run before a Grace Cleveland kill. Send it into the timeout. And Purdue up a 5 spot. Getting late for Michigan, looking for that second big upset win against the top 15 team in the conference this year. They'll have to do it in reverse sweep fashion. Newton cross, Hannah Grant. Another tough platform for her. Then a block up front. Good defense all around on that point, capped by Johnson.
Great defense all around, and I gotta shout out Michigan again. Hannah Grant's having a heck of a night with some big digs, a perfect one, but not enough for that Boiler block as they just put it right back down to the Wolverines.
Newton came over, assisted with Johnson. 9 blocks tonight for the Boilers. Paige Jones chips it. Easy chance for Otek. And Johnson just out. And she's adamant that that needs to be challenged.
And you don't see JL Johnson get that animated that often, so I think this is one where she really thought that ball was in. But this could be a really big point for Michigan here, slowly clawing their way back. And if Purdue gets this one, it can really be a little more lopsided than it looks. 5 with Michigan receiving votes for the past 6 weeks, but it is so deep.
5 challenges, 5 reversals. Purdue takes the point. There's Jackie Boney, denied for the moment, and Johnson was down there. Johnson on the other side was over.
And the net play by the Boilers is so strong. Even in those broken plays, they do a great job of putting strong hands up and just making sure the ball is not going to cross their side.
And a timeout from Michigan. High 7 kills last time they saw the Wolverines. Got 3 more tonight. Not all of them your straight second contact dump.
And she's done so well from all around, whether it's getting a dig to kill, that defense turned into offense. You saw that ace earlier, and then being a big threat, a big presence up at the net has been huge for this team, and that all-out hustle from Haley Bush is something that you're
See the historical numbers for Haley Bush coming off the first team all Big Ten season in the spring, also an All-American, likely to be up there in consideration again. Merzick getting down. Paige Jones rolling. And a tap from Newton. Touch short.
The timing just a little bit off for Bush and Newton on that. Tried to tip it over, but didn't quite get it. But I want to give a shout out right here. Maddie Chin in the game right now. This is something that Purdue likes to do. They like to switch out that second outside, trying to get a little bit more momentum, especially offensively. So look for them to get her the ball.
Out to Chin. Good call. And she smokes it.
Maddie Chin goes right in the game and does what she's supposed to do. Just puts the ball down in a tough situation.
Some sort of telepathy with Haley Bush, or what was that?
I mean, I'm best friends with her sister. I mean, hey, sometimes you just know.
So yes, telepathy for sure. All right, call this next one out. Where's it going? Well, it's going to Paige Jones on the other side. Crushed.
That's why I stuttered. Didn't know. But Paige Jones getting it done for that team for Michigan. And in the back row again, we've seen her this entire night taking big rips from that backcourt.
14 kills for Jones. It's 8 of the last 9 that she's had 10 plus. Paige Jones peaking with 19 against Penn State a couple weeks ago. Raven Colvin into the block. Dug out of there by Otek. Having one of her best nights in the Big Ten so far. Approaching 30 digs. Maddie Chin cross court.
We talk about how good the block is for Purdue, but that fuels the coverage to be just as good. You saw that up just off the shoulder of Haley Bush, and then Jenna Otek getting that ball up as well. But then Maddie Chin puts it away for the Boilers.
And for Otek, it is the 30 dig night. Got to the point that she got to against Maryland a couple of weeks ago. Otek there on the first ball here. Cleveland at Grant. Merzick sends it twisting down.
And Merzick is being really shoddy on that outside position, especially in situations that aren't perfect. She knows how to get a kill and take some speed off or hit the right shot.
The shoddy play from Merzick. Here's Scotty Johnson. Colvin elevating. And Robinson right back at her. Raven Colvin.
And the net play for Purdue right now is just so physical. They get up there, they're so strong. They make great moves, they're patient, and they just get those hands up in time to get blocks.
Johnson picks out Merzick. Block again, and Grant can't dig it.
I was just about to say, this team averages about 3 per set. So you're in the 4th set, you expect that to be 12. That number was 11, and they answered right there. They're so good at getting these blocks, and that's what makes them up 22-13 right now here in this 4th set. But you look at that field of 6 teams that all could win the Big Ten title at this point in the season.
And another block before the break that forced the timeout. Raven Colvin Grace Cleveland again.
And this block fuels itself. When they get one, they're almost sure to get another one or at least a touch right afterwards.
So 2 points from the finish line for Purdue. Pertosky into the cross court. Otek already a career high in digs. And then closing in on Warren Barnes, 33 digs. Best in the Big Ten this year. Hannah Grant's gone blow for blow a lot tonight with her. Colvin into the cross. And Scotty Johnson got it up. Hornig up on the first ball. And Cleveland over to Johnson again. Setter's working hard on the first ball for Michigan. And that's 4 points in a row. Punched with a block for Purdue.
And how else than a block to bring up match point for the Boilers to keep their Big Ten title hopes alive.
Purdue's won 6 straight. Match point number 1. Hornig handles it. Over to Cleveland, spinning tape. And Newton hustles up. Scotty Johnson in Michigan. Downhill with Robinson.
Great work in transition for Robinson to get back and have a full approach, full swing at that ball to keep Michigan alive.
Jess Merzick. Otek up. Overpass chance. Merzick to Otek. And Bush over to the scorer's table and out for Newton. Couldn't wrap it around the antenna, so back-to-back match points staved off for Michigan. Right in front of this great Holloway crowds. Match point number 3. Caitlin Newton